This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gold.
Welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. Hello, everybody. It is I, Old Gingerface, here with you. Thank you for joining us. The podcast that has the men and women of law enforcement on, and you get to hear what it's really like doing that insane job. A lot of times before, when I'm waiting, or if I get here early in front of my desk and I'm waiting for the person to come on, I just sit here and in front of the camera, make sure settings are right. And then like for 5 minutes, I'll just stare at myself. And it is not good to do that. I have to tell you that much. I noticed if you're on YouTube and watching, and I should say, and I've been told to mention this more, go subscribe to the YouTube. Check that out. I was late to the game starting it, but it is helpful if you go on there and watch the videos and like them. But anyways, so if you see this ridge between my eyes, I was sitting here today and I was looking at it and I'm like, when did I get that ridge? And if I take my finger and just put it in the middle of my forehead and I just lift, it's gone. I look younger. I look like, now to me, when I look like a caveman. And then when I do this, it looks like young Steve. So these are the things that happen, guys. I can see why people get this stuff taken care of. Not that I particularly care, but I can see why ladies would start to be self-conscious because I am looking a bit like a caveman. Not great. And then I was at the dermatologist and I have this brown spot on my, on my wrist right here. And it's not quite a mole and it's not a freckle. And the dermatologist is like, oh, that's a baby liver spot. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you know, old people with liver spots all over them. Yeah, that's what that is. You're going to have probably a bunch of them. And then she said, when you're 80, you'll probably have a bunch of them if you live to 80. I'm like, thanks, Doc. So that's how my week is going, everybody. I hope your week is going well. Thank you to everybody who's, thank you to all the new Patreon subscribers. It's really unbelievable. In the podcast community, we took a hit December 2023 with downloads. Everybody lost about 20% of our downloads because of something Apple did with how it distributes the episodes to people. I won't get too into the weeds on it. So all the big podcasts lost like millions of downloads a month. I lost 10,000 downloads a month, like almost right away, which if you're a podcaster and you've been working at it for years, you can kind of obsess over the stats. And for that to happen, and also there was no explanation. They didn't even explain it. But for me personally, the Patreon has grown, so support has grown. I'm getting more emails than ever. Thank you. God bless you. I love getting those. Thank you for the recent ones I got this week of people in Academy or graduate from Academy because they heard the stories on this podcast. Really, really cool to get those. And yeah, then when I go into Apple Podcast Management, I have more followers than ever and more plays on that than ever. So I don't know what it is, but I do appreciate all the support, and I try to not look at that stuff anymore because I do get the emails from you guys of how much the podcast has helped you, and just hearing these men and women tell their stories is really touching people, and that's kind of the point of the whole thing. I have gotten used to a little bit of income from it because it is very sweet. It's a very sweet thing to get that especially when I can't take an extra shift or take extra hours to work, which I need to do because I'm a single income family. But then I have the podcast come in the end of the month and give me some money to help pay the mortgage and some other things. So it is so appreciated, guys. You have no idea, and it's just awesome. But today's guest, I'm really, really excited to have him. He's got a crazy good new book that came out. His career was wild. He started upstate New York, did 5 years there. Then he did 30 years at LA County Sheriff's Department. He's, like I said, an author. He's also dabbles in stand-up comedy. Without further ado, let me bring on the great Cliff Yates. Cliff!
How are you, Steve? Thanks for having me on the show, brother. I've been following you for a while now. I love all your content, and it's good connecting with brothers and sisters in blue, and thank you for your service. You're still active. My God, I'm retired.
I know. Good for you, man. Yeah, I know. I'm at that point in your career where I'm like 18 years in the retirement system, and it's like, you don't want to feel like a loser and like start thinking about it. I can't help but think about it because there are some guys that swing the 20 years and out. They take like the smaller retirement, but clearly they have another gig. You know, they have something.
Yeah.
You did the full swing. So you got what do you get? 90% in California?
Well, what happens is, so I think when I was working, because I started in upstate New York, and I think so the New York State system, and you're in the upper East Coast. There was a limit. You could only get a certain percentage or 50% tax free or whatever it was. But in LA
Yep.
County, you can pretty much get 100%. Now, I retired at probably 76%, I think, but actually that equated, because of all that you contribute when you're working, that equated to me getting 100% of what I was receiving while I was working full time, plus full medical. So in the LA system, it really tops out at 30 years, age 55. So you've almost got to do both levels, and that's how you get the most. But I mean, you don't have to, but you do have the opportunity to go that high.
Dude, Cali's got a lot of the West Coast states have like really fantastic. I mean, I used to work with guys at LAPD background. I've said this before, that retired at like 105% of the retirement. I'm like,
that's right, yeah.
In Mass, 32 years, and you get 80%. So, and they don't count overtime and details and all that. So you basically, to have any kind of living, because Massachusetts is in the top 3 most expensive states in the country.
Yeah.
So you better have everything paid off, your house and all that, not have any HELOCs or credit card debt, or you better retire like a ranking officer, like a lieutenant, captain, deputy chief, or chief. You better have a giant salary, is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. Listen, I see, and God bless you. You have your cross on. You're a Christian.
Sir.
Yeah. Well, and I'm tying this in because the best thing we ever did, my wife and I, went to Financial Peace University by Dave Ramsey.
Been to it, brother.
So 98% of that was great. The only thing I didn't agree with, I mean, you can't wait to buy a house cash. I mean, who's going to save $500,000? But everything else, we pay cash, and it just works fantastic. You went through it. That's great.
Yeah, I've done it, and I've done, as they say in the program, Dave-ish, which doesn't work.
Yeah, Dave-ish, yeah.
Well, I'm going to follow the rules, but I really want this thing. I'll just put that on my credit card. That type of crap. But yeah, man, you're retired. You're looking great, brother. Like you are jacked. In honor of you, I had a decision. There we go. I'm like, am I going to do my high intensity workout today or tomorrow? And I'm like, I'll do it right before I get old Yates on, because I know he'll be proud of me. He's a fitness buff.
I am proud of you. You're looking good. And you know what? It's and we were talking about this off camera, but people, because I post my videos not for any ego thing, but to just say, hey, I'm walking the talk. I mean, I actually do these things. But people, I can't be in the gym 2 hours a day. When I do strength training, I'm out of the gym in 35 minutes. I'm not there all day.
Yeah. Yeah, it works, man. Like I know it's like beating a dead horse on this podcast, me saying it, but I just do that HIIT kettlebell workout twice a week if I can. Sometimes just once. But the point for me was like, you're not going to like become a bodybuilder like that, but because all the movements are functional movements you use, it really does.
Right, yeah. Even
if you can only do it once, at least you're maintaining. You know what I mean? You're using all your joints, and you're keep getting your heart rate up there. And like I have a perfect example. Like last week, I went to a call and we had to take a guy out of the house with 2 other cops and, just a passive resistant thing, arrested with the just lies on the floor. He's about 6 feet tall, 190, dead weight. Those are hard. And to get to the house, you had to go up a big staircase and then get down to the yard, go down another staircase in the mulch. So 2 of us tried for a second, and I was like, brother, we can't drag this kid down the stairs. So a third cop shows up. And we get him. But anyways, I got one side of him and we're bringing him down. But I think in the past, last year when I wasn't doing anything, I would have been like, I'll say this, like the other cop that was on the other side with me, like beaded sweat all over his forehead, dripping, like he was like dying. I was fine. We got him in the car and I was a little tuckered, but I was like, yeah, this is cool to see it actually play out in work. Like I definitely could like fight for longer now. My gas tank wouldn't be empty in 30 seconds. I know tons of guys that are older and like heavier now, and I know to be really good scrappers, or they used to be boxers or whatever. But they'll tell you, I got 30 seconds in the tank. If I can't get the guy, I can't get him, I would turn into a T-Rex. I can't do it.
Well, by the time you account for a vest and the belt and everything to keep adding, and the radios, and I mean, the amount of weight that you're carrying is just unbelievable. I mean,
yeah, it's just wearing it around.
Yeah, I wore my vest religiously every day. I don't care how hot it was. I always wore my vest, man. I was really religious about that. Well, actually, because in upstate, before I had gone any street survival training or had any really great training, a guy actually had waited for me outside of a restaurant to shoot me, but I was so long in there eating that he fell asleep in the car. But at the time, I wasn't wearing a vest. I had no really street survival training. But after that, man, I wore my vest all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It is like the outer carriers are cool, and because you can take them off when you do a report and you're in the station.
Oh, they're the best.
But it is rough if you take your vest off and then eat like a big sup dinner, which I try not to do at work. But if you eat a big dinner and you put it back on, you feel like a bag of crap. Yeah. It's like you sit down, and it's like just squeezing you. All you want to do is take that thing off and put it in the seat next to you, which is,
Yeah. The thing is, the vest will save you, not just in a shooting, but it'll save you in an accident. It protects that core. If you fall down on something, a piece of glass, I mean, it just helps you in so many different ways besides shooting protection.
Right. Absolutely. No, it's funny. We just got a survey. I just did a survey for Massachusetts where one of the colleges is studying whether police, because of concussions in football, they're now looking at concussions in professional jobs. So they're looking, because cops get into a lot of car crashes and fights. And so now this whole survey was kind of, they said, because I'm a firearms instructor, they said prolonged firing of like highly, guns with a lot of percussion, right?
Yeah.
So, but the end of the questions were weird as hell. And I'm like, what are they getting at? And then at the end of the survey, it's like, what is your appetite for wearing a helmet for an 8-hour shift? I'm like, zero. They want, we wear the vest already. Now they're like, what about a protective helmet? I'm like, oh, this is some kind of like study for somebody who wants to make a protective police helmet that we all have to wear in the summer. Are you out of your damn minds?
No. It was going to be a case study they wanted to suck you into. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You can't do it, man. It's not sustainable. No one's going to do it.
No, hell no. I have like a Kevlar helmet in the back of my cruiser for, if the worst, like you respond to a school shooting or something.
We kept our helmets with us in the car. Yeah.
Yeah, you could throw that bad boy on, but I wear it so seldom. I'm feeling I would put it on and I would just feel weird. I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
My neck would collapse. Cliff, are you still doing stand-up comedy?
I'm not doing it anymore. Sometimes I get the urge. We just came back from Las Vegas, and I go, man, I got the urge. Maybe I should get back into it. I could. I have a headliner friend of mine that I worked with for many years. He goes, let me know when you want to jump back in, So, but, I love actually doing this and training and writing. And so, I try to, like you said, I don't like to be dabbling at anything. I like to be immersed in doing it and know it.
Right.
So I try to niche down now and I can't be doing, because I have this unlimited mindset. I can do that, and I can do that too, So I try to get out of that. I can do everything, because you can do everything you want, but you can do anything you want, but you can't do everything. You do have to niche down a little bit on things.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to. The only people that really get away with social media presences or podcasts with hey, let's chat is famous people. Because because it's super interesting to hear Rob Lowe talk about a cookout he went to in LA and who was there. Just so he can just live his life and then talk about it, and then it's like, well, this is fascinating. Who was? Oh my gosh, he was there. It's like, wow, they're friends. What was that like? Oh, and then he talks about when they were like 15 on a movie together, and you're like, this is so interesting. But for you and I, it's we have to have a niche down subject and be almost an expert in it, so that we can attract the right people to want to listen.
That's true. Do you ever listen to the guy? It's called the podcast is called Unashamed with the Robertsons, Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty and his boys.
No, I've heard of it though.
Yeah, so it's Unashamed. So old man Phil is on it, and then Jace and Al, and then they have a Zach. So I watch this thing because they do an hour a day, 5 days a week, and mostly they start with telling what's happened to them during the day. That this happened, that happened, and then they go into these guys are all pastors, man. I mean, they are biblical theologists. I mean, they're experts on it before they even had the Duck Dynasty show. And so I listened to it the first episode, right? And I go, who the heck could ever stand to listen to this thing, right? And then now I can't miss it. My wife and I go to sleep listening to it, and I'm like, it's like, what? I hated the first episode, and now I can't stop watching it, right?
Yeah, that's. I'll have to check it out. I always like their. I always like their vibe when I watch the show. It's good old boys making duck calls and whatnot. Cliff, Can you tell us about the first time you responded to a hot call, or first call that really got your blood going?
God, let me think about the first hot call. I don't really, I'm trying to remember. Oh, well, yeah, you know what? I'm going through all this stuff in my head because I started part-time when I was 20. And then I actually got cleared to be on the road by myself at actually age 20. And at
That's
21,
young.
and then I was hired at 21. So actually I was 20 when I made my first felony arrest. It was a felony. Well, in New York, it's DWI, like a DUI. So driving while intoxicated. And it was the guy's second conviction within 5 years. So that was my first one. And then my next kind of hot call was a fatal accident that really affected me. I still think about it to this day. But, in upstate New York, we didn't get a lot of hot calls, but I had a few of them. Yeah. So
what was the fatal like?
the fatal was a girl who had just left Geneseo, New York, the state college, going home for Christmas vacation, and she fell asleep and went into a telephone pole in a Volkswagen. So, and you know how it is. It's just like for some reason, the shootings don't stay with me in LA and all these other things, but just the summer smells mixed with, a car, gasoline, burnt rubber, those smells, you know what I mean? They stay with you from that incident, and that takes me back, those sensory things. And so, I remember her golf clubs in the back of the Volkswagen. And then, she was still alive while I got there, but she was just trapped and just mangled. Just seeing her dad come and pick up her golf clubs the next day. And it was just, I had a few
brutal.
of those, and maybe you have too. It's just, I had a lot of fatals really with people falling asleep in the middle of the night. I worked midnight to 8. And, sometimes my wife will be driving up, and we'll be driving from Florida, and she goes, "Are you tired?" Believe me, I could never fall asleep because these images are in my head so much that it's never going to happen, because I saw too many people that fell asleep and drifted into a telephone pole, man.
Yeah, that happened to me. When I was doing a lot of stand-up on the Cape. I live on Cape Cod, which is about an hour, 45 minutes from Boston, where all the comedy is. And I would work a lot of doubles and details, but then if I got a spot, I would go. So it didn't matter how tired I was or if I had worked the overnight or whatever. So I went to Boston and then did it because it was the Comedy Studio, I
didn't know you did stand-up comedy. You did stand-up too?
Yeah, I did for like 5 years. Yeah.
Wow.
5 or 6 years. Yeah, I did. And it was great. By the end of it, I opened or featured for like Lenny Clark and Steve Sweeney.
Clark,
and some like bigger acts.
Big names, yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I did a little bit in LA. I got to perform at the Ice House. And but the kids were getting older, and it was like the writing was on the wall where it was like, listen, you're not going to make the connections or even make it here with being able to spend time with your family. It kind of wasn't working out. So, plus I did it for long enough and I wanted to try it. And
you were out in LA, right? Cause you were backgrounding. So you were backgrounding and then doing the comedy. The Ice House was my home club on Mentor Avenue in Pasadena. Yeah.
Yeah. Great club. So awesome. I had gone to Boston, and it was the Comedy Studio, which was like one of the only clubs in Boston at the time, and it would have great audiences, and it was really good to get in there. So I was driving home. I had a great set, and then I was starving, so I stopped and I ate like Taco Bell or something terrible for me. And then I'm driving home, and I get on the Cape, and I'm like, it's just a 1-lane highway before I get to the exit to go to my house, and it's obviously there's unlit, completely dark, and I'm doing the head bob thing, and I'm like, your brain is like evil. It's like, just shut your eyes for a second, like that whole thing. So I'm turning the radio up. I got the windows down, and it was scary because it wasn't even like a let me nod. It was just I woke up, and
you actually were out already. Yeah,
I was out, and I woke up, and I was in a Prius, my wife's Prius, and it was like, and lucky for me, they had just clear cut about 100 feet into the woods that lined the highway, and I was driving over stumps.
Oh, geez.
When I woke up, and I was like, whoa! And I obviously just slamming the brakes, and I stopped, and I was like, oh my gosh! And the nothing happened to the car. The only thing that happened was the Prius has a bladder, like a plastic bladder for a gas tank. It got dented, and the dealership was like, it doesn't matter. They're like, your gas gauge might be slightly off, but you don't want to have to replace the gas tank. It's fine. I mean, thankfully. And the worst part is I call it in, and the guy that comes to tow me out is one of the guys I call all the time for tows. And he's like, Steve? I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, what the hell happened? I'm like, I just fell asleep. And he's like, damn, I can't believe it's you. I'm like, I feel like such an idiot. But yeah, thankfully I didn't kill myself. But that is scary when you're just driving and all of a sudden you wake up and you're driving in a forest. You're like, whoa, what happened? It can happen so easily.
A lot of people do that, man. I tell you, it's a lot of fatals, man. Yeah. So yeah, hey, you're not too far from me. I'm on my island here in upstate New York, St. Lawrence River. So you're probably only 5 or 6 hour drive. You should come over here and spend a couple nights on the island.
Oh, hell yeah. I didn't know you were in New York.
Yeah, this is upstate. Yeah, I'm in the St. Lawrence River. So I'm on, I look across. I can see the Canadian side. I'm in, you know how Lake Ontario dumps into the St. Lawrence River, and then there's an area called the Thousand Island region, like 20 miles, and there's over 1,864 islands, and we have an island. So I'm on an island right now. I'm looking at the water all around me, 360.
You're kidding me, dude. That's incredible. For some reason, I just assumed maybe you were still in California.
No. Matter of fact, this used to be the outside of the original cottage, the stonework, and then they put a porch on, and then this black hole there, that used to be a window, and now it's a doorway into the main cottage. But so now we got it expanded to 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's good.
Dude, that's something. I'm going to take you up on that, man. You might regret saying that. You get all 5 of the Goulds over there.
They're bring them out, man, and they got a major fishing tournament going on right now. Like Major League Fishing is out here filming people. I got $100,000 bass boats coming all around me. Yeah.
Dude, that's excellent. Talk about a sweet retirement, man. Good for you. Good for you. Cliff, can you tell us about the strangest or most bizarre thing you dealt with on the job?
What the heck would that be? The most bizarre? There's so many bizarre things because I went from upstate New York, dealing with, usually small town stuff and rural stuff. Then I go to LA and I end up down in South Central in Compton area where murders and shootings is going on a nightly basis. I went to patrol school. We have to start in the jail in LA County. So I went to the jail for almost 3 years, and then you go to patrol. And so because it's been so long, you go to a little patrol school academy to get you reorganized into patrol work. And so I remember, and then they send people out from the stations that you're going to kind of indoctrinate you and orient you. This is what you're going to expect when you get there as a trainee. And so these guys from Linwood Station were down adjacent to Compton. And so they were telling, well, some nights there's so many shootings, you can't get to them all. You won't be able to. I'm not thinking that's probably bullshit, And,
right.
Boy, turned out not to be. I was like, wow. And then you can't really, it's like, I can't even tell people all the stuff that happens because they're going to think I'm lying, But I mean, I don't even know if we ever went a night without several shootings. And so, but back in the 80s, it was during the cocaine wars and all these guys, just AK-47s all the time. But at the same time, weird stuff would happen. Like a sergeant came in, and Stanley White, and he ends up being, because I was into the movie business and acting too, right? Turns out, his best friend was Oliver Stone. He was featured in all these movies. He's in the movie Midnight Run, and then he goes, "I'm going to Hollywood to." And so I would meet all these people. For some reason, he was friends with Donny Osmond. He came out to the station, rode around with him. And oh my God! So all these people I got to meet because I was always a little starstruck, But so here I'm in the middle of the kind of a ghetto shooting area. Then I'm meeting these stars too, So really exciting stuff, Loved every minute of it. Yeah,
that's cool. That's funny that they actually wanted to get in a patrol car and ride around.
Oh yeah, they just loved it. It was oh my God, yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to think of who's the guy, Charlie, the guy that was into drugs and he had that show. Oh
I was going to say Charles Manson, but not him.
No, it was the
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen, yeah. So Charlie Sheen came out and wrote him. My God, this guy was the nicest guy, right? So then I was having lunch at Beverly Hills like 2 years later, and I saw him, and I thought, well, I don't know if I want to, go up to him and say, "Hey, Charlie, you came out to Linwood. You rode with Stanley White." "Oh yeah, I remember you. How is Stanley doing? How's the police work? Thanks for your service." Like, the guy was the nicest guy.
Yeah.
And sometimes you wonder, is this guy really? Because some people are really their dicks kind of. And then this guy was really a good guy, man. It's Charlie Sheen was a good guy.
Yeah,
But,
I always felt like the
just,
Sheens would be good.
Yeah. Then I did extra work on Bosch before I really knew what it was. And then a guy emailed me, a copper, and said, "My God, that's from the Michael Connelly series, and I love Bosch." And then I got into it, and Titus Welliver's a good dude, man. I met him. And so a lot of LAPD guys did extra work on Bosch. It was a great show.
That's cool. So you guys just like playing uniforms or?
Yeah, I was background like in the coffee shops and uniform. I was in like a suit, like I was a detective and everything, But I had a couple scenes with Titus Welliver and stuff, but I didn't have any speaking roles. Yeah, but it was fun.
That's great. Yeah, a woman I worked with in backgrounds worked with the detective that they based that show on. Bosch, I guess, is that?
Yeah,
I never seen, but she was telling me like all about him. I'm like, wow, this is. I mean, when you were at LAPD backgrounds, there's a lot of police all stars around you, like Ron Phillips, supervising detective for the O.J. Simpson trial. He was 2 desks down from me, and they're all just great dudes. I mean, it was so cool just being kind of getting taken under their wing, and them just kind of like, because they got a kick out of the fact that I did comedy and I was a small town cop, so they were like, "What the hell are you doing here, kid?" And go to lunch with those guys, and that's why part of the reason I started the podcast was just hearing just crazy ass stories from these guys, especially the older guys, when it was like, I woke up, my partner was shooting down the window, we were on the on the 10 in pursuit, and he's shooting and driving. So he's like, "Wake up." I'm like, oh my gosh,
unbelievable. That was, oh my God, it was crazy. I have a lot of those stories, man. But it was a great career. I loved it. When you're in it, certain things happen, you think, "Oh, this is terrible," But looking back, man, it was all good. Yeah.
I know you have something crazy or so bizarre that you went to, and I know you have a ton of them. But it's what's going to happen is we're going to be done with the podcast, and you'll be like, "Oh!"
They come to my head.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell that story? Because that was crazy. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
This used to happen all the time with me with the LAPD retired guys. They'd be like, I'd be trying to get them on the podcast and be like, "I just don't think I have any stories. I got to think about it." And then it turns out they have like tons of, they just had too many. And they just kind of like blocked it out. They just couldn't separate them.
Yeah, I had, they didn't show it. I had, cops was riding in our station area, and they were there filming this. And I had a trainee with me, and I had a guy, it was like a service officer. He wrote traffic tickets because he wanted to be a deputy. But then we had a 415 gang call, so a gang disturbance call. And so we were on our way to it, and there had been a couple of shootings because cops was all around shooting us, filming us. And so then, so we're going up Long Beach Boulevard in Long Beach, city of Long Beach, not Long Beach, Linwood. And then we see this group of like gang members. They all came out in front of this restaurant called Tam's Number 9. They fell into the street, and it was just a large group. And so, my trainee was saying, "Should I put that? Give me that mic." I grabbed it myself. 415 gang with 20 involved, request assistance. And so we got to the group and we stopped, and everybody's still fighting in the streets. And then out of nowhere in my peripheral, I saw a guy, one of those old bumper jacks that had the metal head on it that you would use to put the tire iron and jack it up. He's hitting people in the back of the head with this thing. And before you know it, in the number 2 lane in front of this restaurant, he is like, and I described it in my report as if you're at one of those carnivals where they're going to ring a bell with a big mallet. That's where he is, over a guy's head like that. I don't even remember pulling my gun or anything. Pop, 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 and I shot 4 times at him, and it went through one shot went right through both of his legs and out the other side. Everybody kept fighting. He staggered over to the opposite number 2 lane. Then he fell down, and then everybody kept fighting. And then in the midst of this fight, some drunk illegal Mexicans, they're up coming, and they got confused with all the lights. They went up on the medium and hit a light pole, and that crashed down.
Oh my gosh!
And so now we got 5-6 cars are arriving, and I'm noticing in the midst of all this, and the gang guys are still fighting. In the midst of all this, I saw a guy in the restaurant, one of the cooks. He's cooking. He's never stopped. Right? Can you imagine? They're so used to this happening.
Just another day.
It's another day. I got a couple of cheeseburgers to go here. I'm not going to burn these things.
Yeah. Oh, I hope I don't take one in the forehead. I got all the cheeseburgers to flip.
Yeah, right. So cops did film that, but at the time the sheriff was very sensitive. If there was any kind of racial makeups he didn't want.
It probably looked way too crazy for a sheriff to want on TV. It looks like you have no control of your district.
I was hoping he put that out, but anyway, the guy lived. There was no lawsuit or anything. It was kind of an amazing.
Wow, good for him. I respect that.
Yeah, I respected it. Yeah, so it was all good. Yeah.
Damn,
those are kind of crazy things, man. Yeah, that was a wild night, and it kept going like that all the time. It was just, I don't know, man. Every night it was just like that, which was kind of nice. Like if you messed up, right? If something happened embarrassing, then you would be the talk for like maybe 24 hours, and then something else happened. So everything was happening so fast that you'd be out of the news cycle of the station.
That's what that was the joke at LAPD was we had surrounding cities who worked as background investigators too, like retired guys or injured guys, and they would say someone from like Covina would be like, yeah, we screw up, we knew it'd only be a day or two before LAPD took the spotlight.
Oh yeah. And then so when I went to West Hollywood, and then I ended up going to the substation. You've probably been up there, Universal City Walk, because that's a county area.
Oh yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's kind of a mix. So the LAPD actually, their territory was the front of Universal, that part and the main parking lot. So what we were usually handle everything on the City Walk, but once in a while they would come up there and Vice would do their ticket scalping arrest right there. We get some young deputy would forget that's really LAPD's area. So
right.
We would usually handle everything. I don't know if you remember, unless something terrible happened, like all of a sudden there'd be a kidnapping, rape. And we go, wait a minute, this is the main parking lot. You know what? That's LAPD's. And then LAPD would come, and here, can you imagine? We're on the hood of our cars with the map arguing. No, you see the lines right here. You handle the whole main parking lot. But we never come up here for calls. Well, we normally handle it, but this is yours. And, oh, my God.
Yeah, cops are crazy like that. I remember talking to a buddy of mine who said he worked outside L.A. and they were a state road had someone drove off it, but then they hit something that was on somebody's property in that city, and then he ended on a city road. So the CHP guy was like, hey, this actually the majority of the damage was done in city limits, and the city cop was like, whoa,
yeah.
This originated on the highway, and then or the state road, and there was just both of them were pointing fingers like, I don't want to take this. I don't want this one.
It's it's weird the rules, like with CHP, we would get arguments because it would, like, state routes was their baby, and then wait a minute, there's a school bus accident. Wait a minute, is it empty or were there passengers? If there's passengers, CHP handles it. There's always weird rules, right? And you have to kind of know it, or else, But it was good to know what was happening. But
that's
crazy.
Different in Mass. It's like the state police, which would be the equivalent to CHP, I guess now. They handle, like where I work in Western Mass, there's a lot of little towns that don't have enough cops and stuff, so they'll stand in and do your overnights, or if you don't have enough cops, they'll come in, and they kind of act as the deputy sheriffs would around the rest of the country. Our sheriffs just do the jails. They don't. Of course, they've been talking about recently, because of the popularity of being a cop, which is down. They've been talking about sending deputies to the full-time police academy. Rather than just the corrections academy, so they can come out of the jail and, supplement, so we can have more law enforcement.
You need that. Yeah,
absolutely.
I worked under that system. So when I worked Livingston County in upstate New York, south of Rochester, so we had, that was because in California it's pretty much, this is CHP, this is city, county, this is the city, and so everybody has their jurisdiction. So like you guys, when I worked in Livingston County, New York, we had state police. So actually people could call either or. So, I mean, if there was an accident, they could actually call the New York State Police instead of the LA Sheriff through the 911.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine how crazy this is, I mean, there was an accident in Lima, New York, in a little village, and the villages and
village police, town police, city police, county police, state police.
Yeah, village, town. And so I got to the accident, and the state trooper was already there, right? And so, you got this. Yeah, I got it. No worries, So, man, the next day, can you imagine the sheriff calling me in and just yelling at me? Do you want to lose your job? Do you want never let a state trooper, beat you to a call? I monitored that yesterday, and
oh, geez.
These guys are monitoring our calls and they're jumping the calls. You got to make sure who called who. Oh my God, I got in trouble for not fighting over the call.
Yeah, I've had a few awkward moments like that where I work, where we took over I work for two little towns, so we do the policing for a town next door. But it took a while for people in the area to realize that our department was now the police over there. So I went to two different calls where it took me 15, 20 minutes to get to this part of town because it's another town and was far away. And there was already a trooper there, and he was starting to investigate the crash or the domestic. And both times I had to like awkwardly be like, hey, brother, can I talk to you? I'd be like, listen, this is in town. I'm the town police. I'm like, my name's going to be Mud. If you book this, how's that going to look? And they are very gracious. They were like, oh yeah, hey, no problem. And they gave me the driver's info and all that stuff. Hey, if you need me to do anything, do traffic, whatever. So they were very cool about it. But it just felt weird, because it's like you're kind of booting another cop off of something he grabbed,
Yeah, it's funny. Politics will come into how we do business, and man, it happens a lot, even in L.A. And I remember those kind of things in upstate New York too. Man, it's very political. The sheriff's an elected official, and he's answering to his constituents, and then
they want those numbers.
To do cop work. We're just out trying to do police work, right? And then, it's kind of human nature. Somebody's already there in uniform, and they say they got it. What are we going to say? Hey, wait a minute, I got to look into this. Like what?
Right. And I would have in Massachusetts, anyways. They don't separate jurisdiction. So the state.
That's correct. Yeah.
And us, we have the exact equal authority as troopers. So
correct.
Even on a state road where the unwritten rule is, if I got to an accident on one of our state roads and a trooper was already there, I'd be like, hey, I'll help you out, whatever. Yeah. It's a state road. Yeah. But it's not specified in the law. We both have equal authority. Yeah. So we kind of just work on like a gentleman's type of thing, kind of feel the guy out type of thing. But I've never had in other words, if I was booking a crash on a state road or a highway, like a trooper could not come up and say, this is my crash. I'd just be like, no, it isn't.
No, that's right.
He couldn't do anything about it. But I wouldn't do that. I would be like, all right, state road. I know these guys need their activities.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. I'd probably help them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because they don't get a lot of, because they're not tied to 911. So they lose out on those stats and calls. So they kind of have to hang their numbers on tickets and traffic collisions, really. Yeah.
Yeah, they need a lot. I've actually had a guy pull to me when I was on the Cape, and we had a 4-lane undivided highway that went through our town, and it was kind of our main street. So we just handled everything on it, all the crashes, even the accident recon, all of the investigations. And a fresh accident happened. It was like a rear ender, and I pulled up to it, and a trooper pulled up right behind me, and he was like, hey, man, can you let me book this? I really need an activity. I'm like, yeah, brother, go ahead. No problem.
Have at it.
Yeah. They don't have quotas, but I think they have like activities. And I know the state police in Massachusetts will put stats up in like the roll call room and be like, here's you, here are all your peers. Why are you here? Yeah. Like, why did you have this many and this person had this many? So, try to help each other out. We have a really good relationship with them. Yeah. There's no kind of pissing contest. There never could be, because they help us out so much, because we are so low on assets. Like, they do everything for us. We get a major B&E that needs photographs and prints. We're calling the state to help. Like, there's a murder or a unattended that's suspicious. State police detectives are coming in. Like, we need them for everything, so we can't really.
Yeah, they have the assets to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you guys have justice courts there, like we had in upstate New York? Because we don't have that in California, where you had to arraign your prisoners?
No, but I worked with a guy from New York on the Cape same thing as you. He worked at a village, a town. Then he worked in the city of Kingston, which he said was horrible. But he said they had, in the villages and the towns, they had the courthouse attached to the police department. And the judge could be like Bob the Builder, who got elected, and he would, and just like misdemeanors, he would, arraign. I'm not sure they did like serious felonies or anything.
They weren't supposed to do, but we still had to arraign. We had to arraign them in front of, in the middle of the night. We had to arraign people. Yeah, they call themselves judges. They really were justices. It's
like night court
distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes they would say $5,000 bail, and I go, Judge, you can't. It's a misdemeanor. The max is this. Oh yeah, well, 2,100. Yeah.
Shut your mouth,
They
deputy.
really didn't know what they were doing, But I remember arraigning people
terrifying.
the dairy barns. I'd have to go to like a dairy farm and go inside the barn. Judge, I got a guy out here in a car. Can you arraign him? Yeah, I'll come right out. Bib overalls and
That's
and then
crazy.
yeah.
That's
Now
funny.
you have like California, right? There's already a bail schedule. Like if you arrest somebody in California for burglary, you just take them to the jail and drop them off, and the bail's already set. Bop, bop, bop.
No, it's different. We have bail commissioners. So
okay.
we can't do our own. Although during COVID, they were having us fill out the recognizance forms over the phone, which I did not understand. But a bail commissioner will come to the station and release some more. They set bail, and they usually work. They either I'm not sure what the exact criteria is, but they usually work for the court, like a clerk, a magistrate or assistant magistrate, or sometimes we have like retired police chiefs, like someone who has a basis of knowledge who can, and the court knows a little bit. They will let you be, and they get $40 every time they come out. So it's always bail plus 40. So if he sets it, if it's a real bad guy and he's like 10 grand, it's 10,040 actually. So if he comes up with the 10,000 cash, 40 goes to the commissioner. Wow, that's great. What a great job that would be, man. Oh yeah, it was cool because a lot of times you get guys that were cops and they come in and they, it's nothing better than being retired, but coming in to see it a little bit. You see the crazy drunk you were dealing with and just kind of being like, I remember those days. Not anymore. Give me my $40. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool little side job if you can get it. Cliff, can you tell us about your most intense or terrifying moment on the job? Well, let's see. There's been a couple. I think of one that's kind of an officer safety kind of lesson too, So I was in the city of Linwood, South Central LA. So this is the night I'm almost done with my PM shift. So it's like, let's say it's 9:30. I get off at 10. So we had a place, in Linwood, in South. You had to be very careful where you parked and did reports and stuff. You get sniped down like all the time. Hell yeah, that's dangerous. So. Yeah, well, from being in California, so But so we had an area. It was the top of a parking structure, just 2 stories. But on the top, we would park because it was a little business complex. So that's a good idea. It's closed down, and so no one could really see you up there. And it was off a little side street. And so we would go up there, park, and write sometimes we have 4 or 5 cars writing reports, arrests. So I'm about to finish, and I backed up my buddy on a traffic stop. And I says, and I named this place the Hilton. I don't know why I called it the Hilton, but I just named it. It wasn't the name of it. It was just a parking structure for the hospital was across the street. So I named it the Hilton. I go, I'm going to go up to the Hilton. I'll meet you up there. He goes, yeah, when I'm done writing this ticket, I'm going to come up before we go in and gas up. Okay. So I go up there and of course, the parking lot is empty up on top. No one can see you from the street. So I back in, and I'm looking at something. I actually turn my car off and pop, pop. And next thing you know, I see headlights coming up the ramp to this. There's only one way up and down. And so I see the lights coming up, and I think it's my buddy automatically. So I put my head back down at what I was writing. And the next time I looked up, now the car is door to door with me. And I looked over, and it's this crazed white guy with a beard and just pumping himself up, Oh, geez. You better shoot me right now. I'm like 1 foot from him, And I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and I start my car. Do you have any weapons on you? I got a 44 underneath my arm right here, and I go, I squealed away from him, turned around, put the spotlights on him, and I just called for assistance, Damn, that's sketchy. It was kind of weird. Worst case scenario for trying to hide and write a report. So I, because of my, and how they say, how you train or how you do things, and it's high stress, you revert back to that. So when I call for assistance, I request an assistant, man with a gun, I'm at the Hilton. I put at the Hilton. So you can imagine. Yeah. Oh, geez. Oops. The main dispatcher downtown East LA, 20 miles away is going, there's no Hilton in Linwood. Where the hell where is he? And other deputies working overtime who were like detectives, they go, I heard Hilton. I don't know where that is, Yeah. And so there was another dispatcher says, oh, he's at the corner of Century, and it's a parking structure. And so somebody knew exactly where I was, but I just, without thinking, I'm given a code name that only a few people know. And so, dude, that's but anyways, insane. Everybody showed up. But anyways, he had a loaded 44, and he actually lived down the rural street where the parking structure was on. So later on, we took him to Augustus Hawkins Psychiatric Center for evaluation.
So what he said was he wanted to he wanted death by cop, right? So he says, I know you guys write your reports up there, so I went up there to have you guys shoot me. I was going to pull a gun on you guys and have you shoot me.
Spot blown up.
But yeah, but man, that was like, just like that, right? You don't know, man.
Did that end
your shift?
Did that end the meetups at the Hilton? Must have been for a while at least.
No, it didn't. It didn't. But we were kind of cautious about it. But yeah, we still, it was still a good spot to go. It's pretty safe,
Dude,
yeah,
you know how your mind goes to the worst place possible sometimes when you're a cop, like just scenarios. That is the scenario, like something I would make up my mind. Some guy pulls up super close, says, you better shoot me right now, and has a gun. And then it actually happens to you. That's freaking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, I have like, I don't know, but.
I want to know, you touched on something earlier I want to hear about. What is the genesis of you eating in a diner and somebody wanting to shoot you? What is that story?
Oh, yeah. So the story is...
This is in New York, right?
This is New York. I end up chasing a guy in like 1 o'clock in the morning. I chase him down. He jumps out of the car, a little foot chase, grab him, arrest him for drunk driving. He was driving while intoxicated in New York. It's DWI. And so I have to arraign him. So I take him down to the village office, and the judge meets me there, the dairy farmer this time, but he came down to the town hall. And so then his mom must have heard about this on a radio or something. She shows up. So now first I had to take him to the main. I had to go 20 miles to the jail, breathalyzer. He blows like a 18 or something way crazy. And then we go to the town hall, and the mom shows up. And so the judge goes, well, I'm going to release him on his own recognizance. And I was all upset about this. And the judge was schooling me on, Deputy Yates, bail is to ensure someone shows up for court. It's not punishment. His mother is here to take control of him. And so, make sure he doesn't drive and all this stuff. So, okay, whatever. I was still a little miffed about the whole thing.
Was he being a major dick the whole time?
Yes. Yeah. He ran. Hey, Your Honor, he ran from us. It was a high-speed chase. He jumped out of the car. It was a foot chase. I think bail is warranted here. He's been uncooperative the whole time. And, but bail is not for that purpose, Deputy. Okay. So he goes with mom. And so I go off to the Star Diner in Avon, New York. And I have at the time I was trying to bulk up, right? I was like 210 pounds. I was like, I need 5 eggs and this and that. And, and it was already around town, from a rural area, right? So the waitress is going, I heard you arrested squirrel earlier. Yeah. And so she was asking me about it. And so I was in there quite a while. I was disgruntled a little bit. So then next thing you know, the waitress comes over with a bill or whatever. And she goes, oh my God, there's Squirrel and his mom right now. They're out front. What? And so, yeah, he's out there in his truck, So I recognize it. Oh, man. So I go out to my car, and I see his mom banging on the window, right, of the pickup truck. So I don't get involved. They just tell her, don't let him drive again. You better not drive. So now I'm really miffed, right? So now I drive back downtown, and I'm actually calling. It's weird that I think about this now. I actually called the judge at his house, right? Can you imagine, Deputy? I'm calling him. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, So I wanted to tell him, where that guy is now? You release. He's out here driving again. He's going to kill somebody and bop. So then while I'm talking to the judge, I see his truck come by. He comes like this. He comes by me, looking at me,
Oh, SOB.
And I go, hey, I got to go. He just came by me, pop. So he was actually looking for me. So then I go out there and I pull him over right there, in front of the payphone at the time, right? Because this is 1982. And so then when I pull him over, he just starts banging on the steering wheel. And, I can just see him in the rearview mirror. And I go, I better call for backup on this thing. So I call for backup. Of course, my nearest car at this time, was only 2 of us in the county, right? It's like 25 minutes.
Oh, geez.
So luckily, a New York State trooper, he heard it on his radio. He's getting ready to go up for the morning watch. And so he comes out and backs me up, And so he comes right away, and I go, oh, thanks. I'm arrested. So we go up, and I get him out of the car. He cooperates, still hammered, So I arrest him for drunk driving the second time.
Oh,
my
gosh.
It's under arrest. And so I'm saying, so I have another deputy coming. I says, can you stand by here, because I want to get this guy to the jail, because I got to do another breathalyzer. I want him to be sobered up too much, right? So
yeah.
So I don't want to wait too long, and it's already 6 in the morning or something like this. So I take him over. He blows like 0.10 now. He blows a 10, and so while I'm at the jail, my buddy who backed me up, waiting for the tow truck, it goes, oh, by the way, you might want to add charge this guy carrying a loaded shotgun in the car. He had a loaded shotgun underneath the front seat, Okay, didn't think anything of it. Add charge him. So then, 2 weeks later, the sheriff himself calls me to his house, and everybody hears it, 101 to 110, come to my house, So they think I'm in trouble, and so do I. So I get to the sheriff's house, and he goes, oh, that guy you arrested 2 weeks ago, Squirrel, yeah. He goes, well, when he was in the jail, he started talking to his cellmate, and he goes, yeah, I guess after you arrested him, he was pretty pissed. And so he knows where you go to eat at the Star Diner. So he actually went home, got his shotgun, and he had decided to shoot you when you come out the front door. But he said you were in there so long that he fell asleep. And
my gosh. Sometimes being disgruntled pays off.
But for the grace of God, go I have we talk about our Christian walk, and I tell you, there's a couple times that just my life was only saved through the grace of God. That was one of them, because I wasn't wearing a vest at that time. I was like 3 years on the job or whatever, and my goodness, yeah.
Damn, that's sketchy, brother.
That was sketchy,
I would think about that one once in a while.
I do. I think about it, yeah.
Damn.
But,
Cliff, can you tell us about a heartwarming situation you dealt with on the job?
A heartwarming situation. I had a lot of those, I don't know, heartwarming can be, one thing about police work, which I think is awesome that people don't, highlight, is that you really have the opportunity to do good things, right? You have discretionary power, which people have a natural animosity towards, but you have also discretionary power to stop and help somebody. Someone's struggling, the old lady walking across the road,
Sure.
You can actually stop your police car and help her out.
Yep.
And so I always did those things. And so, I can't really think of someone but I would do those things all the time. I did those things when I was working South Central in the ghetto and everything else. And it's surprising how much actual police support there are from people, even those crime-ridden neighborhoods are where people actually value you the most, right? It's like they want you hanging around their business. They really appreciate. They really know they need you there. They want you in their neighborhoods.
So you found most of the people that lived there were just good, hardworking people. Yeah. Probably they didn't want the gangs there either.
As it was put to me, and I saw more and more, it was like, well, they really can't, they can't, openly in their front yard, praise you.
Right.
But sometimes running through backyards and talking to people, they actually hug you and praise you. I'm so glad you guys are here. I mean, it was just like, oh my goodness.
You see somebody in the window like, good job.
I'm
thumbs
telling
up.
you, and they really, yeah. So I don't know. I even think, it's funny. The currency too in those areas is just respect, right? And so even showing respect for gang members or anybody it's kind of a back and forth, and people probably wouldn't even believe it. There'd be a yes or no sort of gang members. I'd be doing that back to them, and they kind of like, that's your job. This is my job. I do my crook stuff, and you're out to catch me, and that's just the way it goes. And so, kind of that's how it is, right? And not everything's so adversarial as they like to paint the picture of, which is too bad, because, that's just what disheartens me, and why I wanted to write my first book, The Truth About Cops and Why You Should Trust Them, is because the painted picture is not how it is. As you know, the amount of background investigation that goes into a candidate is just unbelievable. So, and people, take the propaganda as, cops are out there, trying to hunt you down to shoot you, which is just not the case.
Yeah, man, those neighborhoods are like, that was something new for me, just venturing out and knocking on doors and shaking fences to make sure there's not a pit bull in the yard before you go. It's like, that was all stuff I had to learn. And it was weird, like keeping your windows up, like you go into like South Central, like East LA or something, like keep your windows up at stop signs, be ready. I was always looking for where I could put my car to get out of a situation. You know what I mean? If you're 3 cars deep at a intersection, I always left space. All right, well, if someone comes up, I can still turn my car. And it's crazy to have to, and exhausting for like, at the time, just like a, plainclothes citizen navigating these areas. You need to be on the ball about your surroundings. You cannot put your AirPods in and bebop down the block and not be thinking about stuff, because people are eyeballing you. If you're in an area where you see at like 1 or 2 p.m., you see grown men that aren't at work just hanging out, it's not good. You should be why are you 35 and hanging out in the corner with a bunch of other men? Right. Like, that's dangerous to me. things like that set off red flags. It's like, why are there so much men? Why are there so many men during working hours hanging in these neighborhoods?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I actually did a podcast on like self-awareness and street survival tactics for everyday citizen, because nowadays you don't know when things are going to jump off in a building or a mass shooting in any kind of any big store chain or whatever, and you need to be self-aware. I mean, and you can actually start habituating these things in your head without it being a big deal. Just scanning as you show up as a business is normal. People coming in and out. When you go around with your grocery cart, oh, there's the back room. Where, if something happened, I could actually go to the back room. That's where they do deliveries. There's probably an escape route out that back door. I won't be so funneled in on I got to get to the front door into the line of fire. Wait, this is number 2. I could go out here. You can kind of make it fun with family and friends too, right? Start thinking about things and watching stuff, and you would start practicing becoming self-aware of what's happening around you. See that guy over there? And so it doesn't have to be some exhausting thing, and you kind of habituate to being tactical in everything you do. So instead of hunkering down inside your house saying it's not safe, just be tactical and strategic in how you're interacting with the public, and you can go about your business, right?
Absolutely. I do that all the time now. Like now that I have kids and I'm married, I religiously carry off duty. If I'm going with the family, going to Walmart or anywhere, I'm always packing now, and I'm always there, and I'm always like, where can I put them? Like where could because obviously I have a duty to engage. So like you said, like the plastic curtains that go into the back of the store, or this bathroom, or where can I stash them real quick? Yeah. And go take care of this problem, because that's my priorities. Is not other people, it's my family. Like I can't start blasting or chasing somebody down with my family standing there in an aisle. Like, what do we do?
Yeah, and I hope, everybody listening or watching this will just never get into that mindset of, man, it doesn't happen here. I think we've seen too many instances now. Everything's at your front door. I don't care if you're in a small village PD of five officers, man.
Right.
There's never. And it's just hard because you go such long time distances between something happening or never happening. Easy to get into that mindset. And, people used to say, oh, you work in Compton, you do a lot of crazy stuff. It's probably dangerous. Well, it actually was safer because we were always on top of these tactics and strategies. Right. When I went to a slow station, I saw people lackadaisical, and that don't happen here. And, don't bring that Compton mentality here, and you better have that, because it's at your front door no matter where you are in the US of A today.
It does make it hard when you work at a slower place. It's like when those calls come in, you will get a bigger adrenaline dump too, because your body's not used to managing it. You're not hopping call to call. So when something big does come in, you're like, you're jazzed. You're like, boom, you're on. And it's like your body's just not used to it.
You got a cortisol dump, and that's the unhealthy part of all that. And so, so you really got to be mentally sharp, and physical sharpness goes along one-on-one. I just saw too many people. I don't know why. Listen, Steve, this is what I would do if I was going to do any revamping of police work, and that's this. When you come out of the academy, you have a standard that you had to meet to graduate physically. You know what? Guess what? At age 50, at 15 years, you still got to do that. And you know what? If you don't, you're out. So if you can't do the physical job at 20 years, then you can't work here anymore. You wouldn't let them do that at first year. Why are we doing it at 15, 20 years? Oh, you can be a fast slob now. We don't check you anymore. Yeah. I don't agree with it. Yeah.
That's my big beef with all these retirement systems lengthening retirement age. It's like, what are you doing? Like Massachusetts just bumped it up for everybody coming in now. Thankfully, I'm under the old system. I'm at 55. Now it's 62.
Hey, you look good, man.
No, I'm not 55. I'm 44. But I can retire at 55. I hope I look like this when I'm 55.
I was going to say, you better not look like 55, right?
But now they want these patrol guys to be 62 before they can leave.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, there's plenty of 62-year-old. Like, not everybody your age looks like you, Cliff. Actually, most people don't. You know what I mean? Like, you get into your 60s, you break a hip. Like, these guys don't take care of themselves. They're stressed out. No. They're eating junk. They're like, we have guys around here that work that are very old, and it's like, man, I hear a fight call coming in, and I'm like, be careful, man. It's one swing from a 22-year-old, knock your block off, or just wrestling with them. You could, break your arm. Who knows?
Well, and I would go this way too, and I think it really helped me, to get into this fitness thing, man, especially on the job, is because I did a podcast with a guy. He's really into suicide prevention. When he saw the numbers for suicide outweighed the being killed in the line of duty through firearms or accidents, suicide was above that. and he started, and I just think, I know me personally, I had to work out on a regular basis for my own mental health. And, some psychologists described that as a sponge, but you got to squeeze that out. Eventually it becomes too much and you can't take any more in, right? Man, it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. The academies have gotten better with it too. They are teaching health and wellness. And like when I went years ago, we had a food log. We reported everything we ate to them, and there was, strict, we exercised every day. And so they are getting a little bit better about it, but it ultimately.
But Steve, what they're not doing is because of, defund the police and all these, and they can't recruit people. They're making these guys. I know in LA, I got 2 stepsons. They have to work overtime all the time, constantly.
Right.
They're forced. They're not like, when I was going younger, they actually, you should have outside interests. Get in a bowling league. They don't even say that anymore. No, we need you to work overtime. We need you to work more.
Your outside interest is working more.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and they're not interested in your outside life. They just know, hey, we need you to work. You got to work 3 doubles a week, guys. We need you to, that's
right.
Not good. So
especially if the lieutenant's going to have to pull a sector.
No, yeah, and they're doing this all over the country. I hear it from all sorts of people. Oh, we got to work 4 shifts, mandatory. What? So yeah, we're making such great money, but if you're not going to live to be 60, I mean, that's no good. You want 30 years of taking that pension home with you, my friend.
Yeah, you want to get the most out of it. Don't let them keep it.
Oh, that's a good book, by the way. If you mention that, that's a good one.
Yeah, Deputy, man. Tell us about it.
Well, I just, I did my second book on police work was it's just a memoir of just telling stories of me being a deputy in upstate New York and the kind of things that I went through there. And then transferring and joining the LA Sheriff's Department, so going from 20 deputies on a road patrol to a Sheriff's Department with 10,000 deputies. Can you imagine?
Yeah. I like how the badges match too. Are those your real badges?
No, dude. The one for Livingston County is the real badge. Now, this is how crazy life is. So I have a picture of my Livingston County badge. No problem. Next to it, I had the picture of my LA County badge.
Copyright infringement. Yeah.
I got a cease and desist from the legal department of the LA County Sheriff's Department. To prevent us from suing you, you will need to take this down in all images. And but I can make one up and say LA police or sheriff on it. And but you can't use ours. There's a copyright on our image.
Wow.
So some people use the badge. They change the colors and they change the tip of the points and they do it that way. I just made up my own. Now,
it looks good.
You think they would? You think it would be the opposite? That they would say, "Hey,
it's
you
free
have to use the real
advertisement.
thing. You can't make." Well, I mean, I'm saying, and I'm an LA County sheriff sergeant and retired. Why wouldn't you want me to have the actual badge? I mean,
right.
But they were that with TV shows and everything else. If there was a show called 10/8, they had to blur out the badge in the patch. But I don't know how strict they are on it now. I see our actual patches on many TV shows, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so this book goes from New York all the way through your 30 career in LA.
Yeah. So you'll see,
awesome.
The rural areas from car deer accidents to South Central shootings and gang fights to working West Hollywood and the Universal City Walk to, meeting stars on the Sunset Strip and doing all those things, and me doing my cop job by day and my comedian job by night. And so it's all a bunch of short stories and something you can, a lot of people read it in the bathroom, but so it got some good reviews and it's pretty inexpensive on Amazon, not only paperback, also it's available on Kindle, and it's also an audiobook. So all 3 platforms, you can get it.
Perfect. And I'll put the link to it in the show notes so people can easily get to it.
Thanks, my brother.
Cliff,
love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. I know you have a last question, but thanks for your service. It always makes me feel good when somebody says that to me, and I never want to stop saying it to someone who's still serving.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Last question, popular one. Advice to new police officers, someone who's in backgrounds, who just started, they're in academy. What would you say to these folks?
Man, God bless them, because I think even most police officers who are currently working, they don't even recommend the job to their own kids anymore, which is kind of sad.
I know.
And so if you've taken up the cross to be the protector of people, just what somebody told me when I left my Livingston County job to go to LA, they just said, you know what, no matter where you go, there are victims who need good police officers to show up and serve them. So, man, you're a savior for people, and it's going to turn around. We need to all do our best to weed out the propaganda and tell the truth and be better marketers for what we do as as law enforcement officers. And the bad cops are being revealed, and we get rid of them. But there's no systemic abuse going on in our profession. It's all about service, and we take an oath to defend the Constitution, and we show up to serve everybody. We're kind of like the president. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, black,
Right.
white, Asian, yellow. We're there to serve everybody, and we take an oath to that. And unfortunately, we're one person can have such a bad effect on a lot of people. So it's a very minimal that we have any really corruption, but it does get shown, which is okay. But if you're doing a job, man, God bless you. And I'm going to always support you. And I think we're going to start gathering the troops to get it to eventually. So people, young kids are still going to want to be firemen and policemen, police officers, I should say, again. And so, yeah, that's what I could say. God bless you and keep doing the service.
Thanks, brother. Great words of wisdom. And where else can people get you? Tell them where to find your podcast and everything else.
Yeah, cliffyates.com, and also my YouTube channel is Cliff Yates, and I have a podcast. It's all under the YouTube. I film it. I have a lot of great guests, and listen, I'm into positivity, personal growth, self-education, and there's nothing you can't do. Just getting that mindset. Hey, listen, why not retire after such a great service years and go on to do and lengthen your life to 10, 20, 30 more decades and do whatever you want.
Get that money you stored up.
I could go back in the academy right now. I can do it. No problem. You can do the same thing. So I'll support you. Come follow me.
Awesome. I love it, brother. It was an honor to have you on, Cliff. Can you hang out just for like 3 minutes when I do the outro?
Absolutely.
Be right with you. The great Cliff Yates, everybody. What a fun interview. Honor to have him on. Thank you to everybody out there listening. Thank you for the supporters. Thank you all the messages and emails I get. I truly appreciate that. This is a time in the show where we thank the Patreon supporters. Who we have is Jamin Jack Security 101. Check them out. Captain. He's a captain, everybody. The great and powerful Andy Biggs, lieutenant level. Andy, thank you so much for all your support, brother. I hope you got the stickers. The great Thomas Connell, he's in at lieutenant level. Thank you, sir. Love you. See you at church. Now we're on to the sergeants. Adam McMahon, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Mihal. Ape Good, everybody. Ben Peters, the great Bentley Barnett. Brad Thompson, Dan Carlson from Burley Boards. Check him out on Instagram. Amazing woodwork. The great Chris Jew, none other than the Clark Lockhuff. Dave Ellman, the great Dennis Carrasquillo, everybody. Detective Nick Adams, ladies and gentlemen. Doug and Kelly Newman, love you guys. See you at church. The great Dylan Mosher, everybody. Elliot Sykes, ladies and gentlemen. The great Gary Steiner. The fabulous, the fantastical George Cariotis. Thank you, sir. Truly appreciate you. Greg Gadboy, everybody. J.A. Family and Company. Thank you for being here. Love ya. Jake Pinedo, ladies and gentlemen. The great James Rose. The great Jason LeBrie, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Lau, everybody. The great Jessica King. John Jordan, ladies and gentlemen. John Shoemaker, everybody. The great Justin King. Kyle Roberts, everybody. Kyle Napier, ladies and gentlemen. The great Lauren Stimson. The handsome Lane Campbell. Michael Roach from Roach Machines AI Solutions. Check them out. Iceman from Motor Cop Chronicles. Check out his podcast. The great Nancy Hammond. Paul Maloney, everybody. The great and handsome Raymond Arsenal. Thank you, sir. Love you. See you at church. Richard Tolles. Everybody keep on trucking. Stay safe out there. The great Sasha McNabb. Scott Young. Sean Clifford. Seth Wright. Sheriff Ronald Long. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Tammy Walsh. Tony Fahey, everybody. William James Long. That's Deputy William James Long to you. Thank you very much. Zach Haney and the great Zachary Pleat. Whew. Guys, it's getting long, and I love it. Thank you for the support. Truly appreciate you. If you want to support, go to the website. Patreon link's on there. If you want to be a guest, really need guests, guys. Need to keep feeding the beast here. Go to thingspleasesee.com, scroll down, click Be a Guest, fill up the little form super quick. If you know somebody that would be good, apply for them. Give me their contact. Let's get them on here. The show will remain free. There will always be free episodes out there for everybody to enjoy, but the Patreon is a way to show your monetary support, which I like. All right, guys. Love ya. I'll see you next week.